MongooseJake here with a mod video on a more modern blaster. We've been looking at some of the older Tek series, and we're going to take a quick break and look at the Buzz Bee Zenith, which is one of their most modern pistols that they've had, which is actually a little unique in the blaster world in that it is a pistol with a pump grip. This is an unmodified one. It came with two sights, either with this nice little flip-up ladder sight, almost like for a grenade launcher, or the thermal sight that it was also featured on the Thermal Hunter. This one, however, was a thermal Zenith, but I actually picked it up in a lot from Ryan Ingolstad, and as you can see with this half, it featured a silver, green, and black Hydra dip. I did it in a swirl pattern, and I've already replaced the panels here. Very nice in that when you open it up, you can drill out using a very small drill bit. You drill the post down, and it has one little tab that holds it in place. And then when you put it back in, you can snap it into place and glue it. And makes it very nice to get a good contrast on the panel. And as you can see there, my lights shining off of the nice clear coating. That the new it's a Rust-Oleum Platinum. It does a very, very good job on the clear coat. I'm going to show you how to take care of this and what I've done to bring this up to a nice high performance standard. Of course, first off, we're going to showcase the brassing. This has 17/32 brass in a length of, I'm trying to remember here, it was a length of 63 millimeters. If you want to convert that, that was about 2.5 inches. On the older Tek blasters, I was doing it at 2-inch length. This was 2.5 inch, or roughly about 63 millimeters of 17/32 brass. You have to drill out the cylinder itself. Again, just with the Tek series blasters as I described, when you drill the cylinder out, you drill till the very tip of the bit starts to show through here. Don't drill all the way through. You need this to have a smooth surface so that it can contact the seal on your plunger tube. Now, the Zenith does not have a direct outlet from the plunger tube into the cylinder. It actually goes up and around this 90-degree elbow. But you need this to contact smoothly for a good air seal. So do not drill out this side. It already has a very large opening, much more so than some of the old Tek blasters, and this already has pretty good performance in stock. It actually fires around 80 feet per second. But I'm going to show you exactly how to reassemble this after you've taken it apart. I do have one here to showcase what it looks like before you take it apart. This is stock, and now I will show as I go through the steps to put it in place. First off, it has one of the unusual rotational mechanisms. Let my camera zoom in there. This is one piece with a spring. It fits up and underneath here, and then this piece actually locks it in place with two screws. So we'll put those in place, and we're going to do this in real time, so I will not be zooming through and speeding up sections, so just stick with me. That way you can see exactly how it goes together. The only thing I might speed up would be when I get to actually putting the shell halves together. Everybody knows how to do that. But as far as internals, I want you guys to actually see how they go in, how they lay in place. So there is the rotational mechanism back in place. And as you can see here on the stock one, it is actually activated by a ramp on the priming rod. So that is key there. So next thing, that means I will have to actually put the priming rod in there unless I really want to fight with it. So I would lift this up and then put this in. And as you can see, there is the ramp. As you can see, it has a ramp surface on this, which also reinforces the priming bar. That's kind of nice. It's a 2-for effect. It activates the rotational mechanism, plus it reinforces with more plastic there. And as you can see, I have done two things here. I've added 2 wraps of E-tape underneath of the O-ring to give it a better seal. This is not the seal to actually power the blaster. The way that the Zenith works, it's a floating plunger tube design, or floating plunger head design, I should say. This is your plunger head. It's compressed by the priming rod. You push this back, and it shoves this all the way back to engage the catch, which in this case comes down from the top. So this is a actual bumper. Normally it's a dead space reducer and plunger head cushion. This would be a bumper for the plunger head impacting it. So still does the same job, just different method of doing it. But again, I used the same treatment of a nice pool of hot glue, and I've allowed this to cure for actually a total of 48 hours now. So it will definitely hold up. But we'll drop that in here, and it'll sit in place, much like you can see on this one. Now, as far as I know, I can't tell any kind of, say, linear idea of when the Zenith gets the white connection point to the pump handle and when it has a black one. This was originally a thermal Zenith, and so is that though. So I don't know. You have to take your actual pump grip off and then see. No noticeable difference in the amount of plastic or the quality of plastic, so who knows, just random. Because also the plastic here on the outlet is also black compared to the white on that. So I guess Buzz Bee is just doing whatever they feel like, or whatever plastic they have supplied at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and integrate this into the back of the cylinder. There are two slots, as you can see there, here and here, that correspond to slots on the front of that outlet. So we'll go ahead and put that in place and then drop it all together into here. Have to work in the priming rod there. We'll drop it all into place as such, and we're good to go. I have all my spare parts here in a bin. Very good tip for anybody out there. Go buy some little storage bins, and if you do multiple blasters all at the same time, you can put all of the parts for one into a bin and then leave it there. That way you don't get mismatched parts just randomly. But here is the actual catch. Very simple design. As you can see up here, it has a orange spring holder or spring rest. Here it is here, slightly hydro dipped. Now of course it has a ramp front. Let's let that zoom in. Make sure this faces the correct direction, or you will have a hard time. Of course it faces forward. That allows the plunger head to come back and push the catch out of the way, and you should be able to simply snap it in place. Very simple. Now to operate the catch, you have the trigger with this little rod. Don't lose this when you take it apart. This is the little piece of plastic that actually causes the movement of the catch. To put it in, you just simply feed it from the front. Put the ramp side up as it moves back. Let's zoom in here. There we go. As it gets pulled back by the trigger, it causes the catch to move vertically. And that'll release the it'll actually release the plunger head and allow it to travel forward and fire. You hook in that rod. Once this is in place, just go ahead and match the angle and just work it through and set it down. You don't really need to do anything to the trigger spring unless you just want a crisper return, because this type of catch isn't really affected by the trigger spring. So it's up to you, just personal preference. I am not doing anything this time. Just make sure the trigger sits in properly. And if you want to, go ahead and actuate it a few times. Everything looks like it's operating fine. So we'll go ahead and get that sit down. Now you do have the stock spring is actually pretty beefy. This would actually be a pretty decent upgrade for typical Nerf blasters from a few years ago, like the Retaliator. That's about again, probably about a 5 or 6 kilogram. However, we're going to go for double. I'm using an NF Strike 12 kilogram spring that is listed for the Modulus Recon Mark II also is sold for the Retaliator. So we're going to go for about double the spring power. Due to this being a direct prime, as in there's no linkages or anything, this is the priming bar, the pump grip attaches right there. I believe that it will hold up to it just fine. Just don't dry fire. You'll definitely, on a 12 kilogram spring, you'll definitely break something if you dry fire. Then with everything in place, I can just simply push this forward into place. Of course, it has forced things up from the force of that spring. And a Retaliator spring is the right fit for about 99% of Buzz Bee blasters. Really only a few, I'll say 90%. Only a few fall into a different category, and then sometimes it's a strong arm spring or a maybe a narrower spring. I believe I used one here recently that was for a Battle Scout. I'll have to look back on my videos, but that's everything here. Before you put it together, the only thing that's left out right now is this little accent piece, which on an intact Zenith you will find that it sits back here. You don't need to put that in before the shell goes together. Before the shell goes together, however, you do need to put your rail in. And you can simply put these two pieces together, and as you can see here, you can get your orientation. The flanges that stick out here go to the rear. And then there's two internal posts right here and here. Slide that over, and now you're actually ready to put the shell back together. That's it. I will spare you from having to watch that. Okay, I'm going to bring you back. I actually went ahead and put it together and realized I had left out a key part, and I wanted to show you exactly what I did wrong so you avoid it. Now, I've put together a few of these, and I still left it out. So this is something to definitely watch out for. What I left out was this little rod that actually holds the anchor for the return spring on the priming rod. As you can see there, it is a tension spring. Pulls the priming rod fully forward. You know, if you were to pump it, you may not go all the way forward. You may kind of shorten it. And this helps to return it all the way forward, which allows the priming rod to clear the rotational mechanism. That way you can fully reset and be ready for the next shot. That's something that's easy to get left out, and you have to put it down in. It goes into a hole right below the lower front screw location, and then you slip the return spring on over it. And then you can continue on reassembling the blaster, which we'll do now. Okay, here we are with it put back together. This is the first look of it assembled. Got it all pieced back together. There's that, what I consider to be a beautiful green, silver, and black Hydro Dip. And I did have a commenter, one of my last videos, comment on how I should dip shells all put together so that the lines continue on. And I've done that before. But I kind of like the individuality of, you know, this side, as you see, it's got a lot of green right here, with a swirl of, a very tight swirl of the black and silver and green layers. And on the water, it was swirled and got to be these huge waves of color. And you can see that here. You can actually see where it was tight and then swirled and got to be giant spread out. And on this side, it had like this ripple, almost granite or marble effect with tight patterns. And it gives an individuality to each side. And that's what's really, really drawn me over the last year and a half to hydro dipping over, you know, some of my older paint jobs. And yes, I know it does not line up right here. And there are some paint jobs that I would prefer it to line up. I'm going to be doing a Galaxy hydro dip. Somebody mentioned that as well, that I should do one. I've been planning to do one, and I had kind of kept it hidden away in secret. It's on my to-do list. But that's actually going to be going on to an old Buzz Bee Frantic Fury, the older generation. Never really cared for the color too much, and it's creaky, and I'm going to improve it. And I do believe that'll be the one that gets a Galaxy hydro dip. And that one I will actually do all together, because I want the pattern to keep going. But most blasters, I want
each side to be individual and unique. Now this build, I hadn't mentioned it, but it was going to be catered 100% to my favorite dart, the Buzz Bee Precise Pro. That's why the extra length of brass. Now I've already test fired, and I'm not going to give away the feet per second just yet, but I had test fired and got some very, very nice readings. I will give it away. 164. 133.7. I'll keep going until we get enough good, clear readings. That was a low of 122.2. I will show that. 158.4. Now, despite this all being cut from 2 sticks of brass, I am noticing a variation in the barrel tightness. Now, I can't explain that because I only use 2 sticks of brass to do this. But I am noticing I have one barrel that's extra tight compared to the others, and I have 2 that are a little looser than the remaining 3. So that's going to give a little bit of variation. It shouldn't be that way with the same stick of KS brass. There's a 158.4. There we go. Got some more shots ready to go. I don't think 609.6 is a valid reading. If you guys wonder, when I don't call them out, that's pretty much what it is. 144.7. When I don't call them out, this chronograph will sometimes give major outliers. Or sometimes skip reading completely. 175.2. 168.8. That's enough to give a pretty good determination. This is now a very competitive blaster. Almost to the point of a little too high for my local games. But I can cure that. Simply throw in some Nerf Elites or some men guns. So I'd say this Buzz Bee long distance dart even is going to drop it way down. Yeah, 121.2 with a long distance dart. So I can use other darts and I can get the velocity down. See, just for the heck of it, I could shotgun 2 of the short length. Yeah, 176.7 with a Adventure Force Dart Zone half length. So yeah, 12 kilogram spring, quite good in the Zenith. That's actually going to be a very potent pistol. But this will be what I use in any games that I can use that kind of higher velocity. But 12 kilogram build with a nice Hydro Dip. I hope this suits you guys. I hope you like that. I absolutely love the look of that. I mean, that to me is just beautiful. But hopefully this build guide helps you to where you could do your own. Now, it'd be very easy to detune this to get under a specific velocity. This is a 12 kilogram spring in here. You could easily build this with a 8 or a 9, and that would push it down to about the 120 to 115, maybe even 110, 115, 120 feet per second range. So go with like an 8 or a 9 kilogram spring, and I do believe this would stay down below a lot of local games requirements. As it is, though, with this thing shooting all the way up to 160, 170-ish range, I think there's going to be a number of people who would disqualify this from some game types. But this is MongooseJake with my Zenith. Oh, camera decided it didn't like that. With my thermal Zenith, I hope you enjoyed that. Taking a pistol that you could get for under $20 originally. These things cost about $16, $17. And turning it into something completely different that's quite potent. Yeah, this is on the level of a Nexus Pro now. But this is MongooseJake saying thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.